let's talk tech. We all know the advancements that have come to the forefront in the recent years, months, and even weeks, with platforms like the metaverse, blockchain-based payment methods, and ChatGPT. But what does that mean for the future of events? You're about to find out thanks to this next session, which will be hosted by Oliver Rowe of Venue IQ. Joining Oliver is Christina Zimmerman, the Relationships Manager at Akiri Productions, and Lauren Harwell, the Vice President of Accounts at Imprint Events Group. Please welcome Oliver, Christina, and Lauren. All right, Oliver, take your seat.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our session. I'm Oliver. As you can tell, I am definitely not American. I'm from England. So we had a big flight over here on Sunday to be with you today. But thanks very much. We have a lot of customers in the US now. Very quickly, Venue IQ, we're a privately owned tech business. We deal with customers in Europe and the USA and Canada as well. And our clients travel all over the world. So we've got an event now happening over in Singapore. So it's it's all going today. I'd like to introduce our panel today. So we've got Christina and Lauren. Would you like to do a quick little intro?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Zimmerman. I'm from Akiri Productions. We're based in Chicago, but we've got offices all over.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Harwell. I'm the VP of Accounts for Imprint Events Group. We are based in Las Vegas. Woo! Welcome to our hometown. Denver, Colorado, as well as Orlando, Florida.
And we have some fans on the front row already, so thanks for representing. We really appreciate it. So what we want to jump into today is we're talking about tech and how that obviously impacts this industry, our industry, an industry I've been a part of for 10 years now. And to say the last 3 years has been a bit of a roller coaster in event tech. There's been, I think we were just talking backstage, and pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, we had like 80 competitors. During the pandemic, we had like 800, and now most of them have gone, which is obviously sad for them, but good for us and the sort of originals of it. But there's a lot of changes going on, and I think the first thing we want to talk about, there's lots to talk about ChatGPT, there's lots to talk about AI, there's all this kind of stuff. But what does it actually mean to you guys as planners, as organizers, as corporates? How does that maybe impact? And I think that's probably a good place to start. What do we think the future sort of predictions of where we think the things that are coming out, what do we think? Do you want to kick off with that, Christina?
Yeah, I feel like everyone is so excited to be back in person.
Oh, in person, yeah.
That the virtual is changing.
Yeah.
It's not going away. It's just changing, really, I think. Lauren?
I think the introduction of ChatGPT and new technologies with AI is something that we're very interested in, and how that's going to change the face of how we do our jobs in this industry. Just typing things into ChatGPT is fascinating. It wrote me a whole speech, so I will spare you of a ChatGPT speech on this whole topic, but it is very interesting as we look at what the legalities are with that, how we're using that in our industry as well. So just really interesting things at the forefront for us.
Yeah, and I think event tech now, I mean, in fact, interestingly, just a show of hands, who has actually got the event app downloaded and is using it for this event? Just a quick. So maybe like 75%, which is pretty good, right? I mean, we have customers that have 100% uptake. How do they do that? They make it the only way of accessing an event. That's the best way to do it. It's the best way to educate your people to do it. We have customers that have north of 75%, and maybe it's their first foray into event tech, so they're maybe a bit scared of it, or they think their attendees are a bit scared of it, but everyone's using a cell phone now, right? Of all ages. We do a lot of medical association events, and we had a client we took from like literally zero tech to using everything. So they use it for delegate to delegate scanning, access to sessions, all that sort of stuff, and the good old stuff like the agendas and networking, everything. But they were like, this is never going to work with our audience. We've got heart surgeons that can take you apart, but they can't use their iPhone. And it's like, trust us. Let's do little by little. Let's see what they actually need now. And I think we were talking earlier, the why. What are your clients saying to you? Like from an AV point of view,
yeah.
what's
There's so many cool things out there, but really, we want to know, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to spend the money on the app? Are your people going to use it? What is the experience going to be for your guest or your attendee?
Yeah, and obviously, from the clients you deal with, I bet you get everything from the virtual to the in-person. So what are people saying to you about that now? How is that coming across?
I mean, it's always a topic of conversation when you plan events, especially for our clients, and how do we infuse it into our events, but infuse it with intention. And so how do we really ask that question we were just talking about behind stage of, what is your purpose for it? What are you looking for your attendees to get out of it? Because that's how we're going to help match you with the right technologies and the right partners. And that's really what we would ask our clients of is your why, is your purpose for the technology, because there is so many technologies now, so many new and old technologies that I may not even be aware of. So that's really the question is, what is your purpose?
Yeah, and I think that the best saying that I've heard when we've been taking clients back to in person, because it feels like in some ways people have forgotten some of the stuff that we've all done for years, right? It's not new. I think it's the slight panic factor of, oh my God, it's that first in-person event back when everyone's kind of got a bit bored maybe of purely virtual, or the technology hasn't really come on in leaps and bounds. Obviously you've got chat and AI and stuff that there's conversations about, but are we all sure what that means to our customers, to our, we would all have, we'd partner perhaps on those sorts of events, and we're like, well actually, why do you need AI? What's it going to do for you? Oh, it's going to run matchmaking. Okay, cool, but you do understand for AI to learn, it's over a long period of time, right? So you're going to give them an event app, and they're going to get recommendations, but they might only know that it's Oliver, and I'm a co-founder of a tech firm. That's it. How is an AI going to know who I want to meet? So you have to ask for more information. If we've got the hosted buyers here, and the amount of information we have is amazing. That is like the AI dream, because we can do some real cool stuff with that, and I'm sure the technology here will. But why? Why is it in there? What do you need to know? What are people trying to get out of it? And I think if you can't answer those questions, we can't advise you on what tech you need, the planners can't, the AV company can't, why do we need an LED wall? Is it just to look cool? Is it to actually is it to make it pop? What's the reasons for everything?
Yeah.
How are we finding, going back to in person? What are the challenges, especially from a tech perspective? What are you experiencing?
A lot of education.
Yeah.
Continuing this education with our clients about tech and AV and why, like we were talking about backstage, why you should trust our partners. And we have these relationships with these companies because we know if something was to happen, we can rely on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, relationships are at the forefront, and I think when we talk about, because we're all like, okay, robots are going to take over the world, and now we're not going to have jobs anymore, right? That's what our fears are for technology when we're looking at AI and things like that. But it's actually, it's never going to take the human component out of what we do, I don't believe, and I really hope not, because those are the things that we love about our jobs. And so those are the things when we talk about partnerships and relationships, that ChatGPT can't go make me a relationship with these fine folks. So while we can use them as tools, it's understanding them what kind of tools they are for us and our teams, and then really still using those to better empower our relationships with one another, and better be experts for you all, for our planners, and for each other, and being able to share that information with this industry.
Yeah, and it's a tool, right? We were talking earlier when we were doing our tech rehearsal, and take ChatGPT, obviously, some people are terrified about it. I think I read a story the other day that Samsung shared a load of their code with it, and basically didn't realize they were giving away some proprietary information to the world, right? Maybe they did, I don't know. They said they didn't. So we need to be aware of that, right? Whatever you put into it, that's then available to anyone. However, maybe if you're using it as a tool, as a planner, you're like, right, I've done this event for 10 years, I know it's great. But we all have those not seeing the wood through the trees moments, don't we? We're like, you literally can't see you don't know what you don't know, we can't see what we can't see. So maybe ask it. I'm doing an event for 1,000 people in the medical conference, and we want to, I don't know, do it on a barge somewhere. What can I do? Maybe it'll tell you, I don't know, I haven't tried it. Try it, give it a go, I don't know. But it's pretty cool, but in Italy, they're looking at banning it because they're that worried that it might take from their jobs. I don't know what that will do in France. I mean, they're burning the cities down about pensions at the moment. So I don't know what they'll do about technology. But I mean, should people be afraid of it, or?
No, definitely not. It cannot replace us. I mean, if anything, I think AI, ChatGPT is just, like we said, a tool for us to use. And it can help us get most of the way, part of the way. It's a great place to go and type in some things if you're having some writer's block over session descriptions, and maybe you need a little help, and then you grab that nugget from there and you expand upon it yourself and give it that human part, not that artificial intelligence part. And I think it's really really interesting. And even DALL-E, the image generator, as well, is fascinating. I could not find an image online that I was looking for an RFP, and I went into DALL-E, and it helped me generate not the perfect image again, but it got me 90% of the way there. And it looked so much better in my proposal than anything I found online. A tool.
It's a tool, a cool tool. And I think that leads nicely. I mentioned just earlier about the 800 competitors we had in event tech, and now they've gone. It is interesting how fast that went and how fast it also fell. And there's some big names out there. We had a massive unicorn come out of the UK that was huge, and they're still doing great things, but it's very different to what they were doing 12 months ago. And I think one of the biggest trends that we're going to see, and if you're Vegas natives, or you'll know Julius Solaris, he was saying on socials the other day, one of the big things he's noticed or thinks is going to happen is there's going to be a lot less event tech companies out there. So the challenge that people are finding, and we get calls where people are like, oh, hey, yeah, we've signed this contract with this app company or this tracking company or whatever it might be, and they don't exist anymore, or they've been bought and now they're not doing that product. I think that is something to investigate. So how do your customers, our customers, how do they protect against that? Because we've had calls where there's like a week to go to the event. Can you save us? And we're like, we'll try. But there's a week, and Apple might take a week to approve something, or Google might, so we can do our best. But how do we try and stop that from happening?
Again, education.
I know.
I feel like so much of it is education. We want to make all of our clients' dreams come true with their event, but sometimes there's education of maybe we can only get part of the way there this year, but next year when we have more time, then we can really do that big thing that you wanted.
Yeah, it comes down to selecting partners. And I think partnership is a huge word that we are going into this year after all of us coming through the pandemic. Partnership is really important, and who you're selecting as your partners, not only from us from an agency standpoint, but also our clients, who they're selecting, who you're choosing to work with over and over and over. Because we all know our first event together is probably not perfect. No event is perfect. No. Which we'll say. There's a lot of the swan and the swimming. There's a lot of that going on for a lot of our events.
A lot of event heroes out there, right?
It is true. It's the hero syndrome.
No one ever
we all
knows.
want to be heroes. But at some point, we also have to be more transparent with our boundaries of what we can produce for our clients and in what time frame, because we also have to stay true to our brands, right? We also have to stay true to what the service levels are that we're going to provide you. And I do respect the people that are saying, actually, no, that's not in our wheelhouse. That's not what we do. Great, thank you. I'll use you for what you do have in your wheelhouse. But I do need this, and I need an expert to use this because our reputation stands on it with our clients as well. So there is that care that comes into a partnership that's really, really important as you choose those and as you have them for a long time.
Yeah, and I think it's okay if your partner at some stage tells you no, because sometimes it has to be a no, but it's not because they don't want to do it. It's either there's not enough time, or they're going to do not a great job of it because there's not enough time, or it's going to make the overall experience worse for some reason. So I think that trust that you have with the event planners, with your partners, with the AV companies, with the event tech companies, everything that, the caterers, everything that makes your events what they are, I think it's really important that it's okay sometimes. I mean, you might go mad at them, that's fine. Yeah.
We're total yes people, right? That's what we do. We live and thrive on that, on being like, okay, I can do the challenge. It's 1 week. I can do whatever you want. I'll crawl on the floor and plug stuff in and whatever you'd want. But I think at some point it's also providing those expectations for our teams, right? We all know the labor market is tough right now, making sure we're hiring and training the right people who understand these elements and tech elements, things like that, putting the right experts on the team so that our clients get that expertise as well. So there's so many things that are under the layers that we're also trying to mitigate as well from a planner side.
Yeah, I think that's good. One thing I want to do, I don't know if we've got a mic somewhere, I know we're going to do Q&A at the end, but we always take feedback from our clients as to what we need to do next. And like Lauren just said, the first time people work together, it's not always perfect, but there's always improvements. I'm just really interested from a tech point of view, so we can maybe shape the next bit of the conversation. What is it you guys are missing? What is it that you like, oh, I wish we had that? What is it that frustrates you with event tech? I don't know if there's anyone that wants to jump in, if we've got a mic somewhere. Up there, it's coming in. Talk to us, tell us. We will try to help. We've got someone here, brilliant.
I rule out 95% of tech companies because they're only in English.
Wow, okay, so multiple languages. Yeah, I think that would hopefully come as some kind of standard. How many languages does your event typically come in?
4.
4, I think that is, yeah. I've got light here. Definitely 4, yeah. I think, and there's loads of solutions, right? So, take our out-of-the-box package. We are mainly in English. Most of our events are in the UK, Europe, and America. But there's so many things we've done for clients before, and it's not just the language, it's also, what about accessibility? So we did an event on our web platform where we embedded some software to do the screen reading for people that are partially sighted. And things like that. So it's not just the physical languages, it's everything else beyond that people need to think about. There's tons of solutions out there that should do it, but I can absolutely respect why you'd be like, no, they probably just said no. Didn't even give it a second thought. It was that, yeah, okay. Have we got any other thoughts? Whoop. Let's see. Anything else anyone's crying out for in event tech, or does it do everything? Awesome, okay, so languages. Okay. We've got languages, okay, cool. So I want to talk now about how those relationships work. So what makes them really super successful? What challenges do you come up against? Who's the communicator? Like, who holds that relationship, whether it's the event planner or the agency or the AV company? Because there's a million moving parts to an event, right? So, and then the ones you don't even know about that happen, travel problems, weather problems we talked about earlier, Wi-Fi, self-service, all sorts of things. What are the things we should be thinking about?
As far as relationships go, I do think it is based on, asking the right questions of where that relationship is, how viable that company is, how long have you been doing this, how many years have you been in business, what are your key factors of what you do, where does your expertise lie? I think those are really great questions to be asking one another, right? When sometimes we're moving so fast, we're just trying to source to create those solutions within that week time frame that we get. We don't always ask the right questions. So I think it really is, when you're building those relationships, is asking, what are your expectations? What do you want to get out of this? And what kind of technologies are you looking for that will help your particular group?
Yeah, again, going back to the why of why are we partnering and what is going to make this a successful relationship for the both of us. It's not a one-way street, it's very much a two-way street.
Yeah, and I think specifically from event tech, we went through that COVID period where a lot of event tech companies were saying yes to everything. Yeah. We had music festivals coming to us, big music festivals, and we were like, this would be amazing, but we don't fit what you do. We can't do it. And then they went with partners that also don't do what they do. And then the websites crashed, and I'm like, you're going to have 1 million people. What are you doing? This is not going to work. Your biggest event was 20,000 people. You haven't changed your technology. It's going to fall over, and guess what happened? It fell over.
I think events like that too, they were so focused on getting it done and getting it out there that they didn't take the time to really find the intention and find that right partner. Yeah. And again, building those relationships takes time. Yeah. And also I feel like people need to rely on their network and really lend to their expertise and really trust your team. If you know that someone on your team is specific, Riley is perfect for all of my event. Very hardcore technical AV questions. I go to him. He's the person I know that I can trust and I can rely on.
Yeah, and I think everyone needs that, right?
Yeah. And out of those relationships comes so much innovation. So it's sitting at a table, which is my favorite thing, and collaborating and thinking through, okay, well, let's video project on tables, right? Yeah. Well, then let's take it a step further. Let's make it a James Beard dinner. Well, let's take it a step further, and let's create some unique entertainment. So there's things that I think, when you talk about technology, there's ways that it intentionally infuse it into your events that make it not like the center of the show, but make it really unique elements that can be part of and drive through some of that ROI or things that you're looking for without it being too much in your face. But then again, when we talked about, what is your plan B, C, and D? So what if the power fails, right? What if you can't get Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi only lasts, the bandwidth lasts for 20 users and 4 people have iPhones and 4 other devices. So it's asking a lot of questions, but also being able to infuse it intentionally as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good. So the next thing I want to talk about in tech, so we're getting asked a lot by our customers about, right, this is great, we've got kind of the app, we've got the analytics, but what can we do with it? There's always been this question of big data. What does it mean? It's like, clients say to us, we must have analytics. We go, amazing, what do you need? And they go, I don't know. And we're like, okay, well, we need to know that now, so we can tell you if we can do it. Whereas after the event, we probably can't. So what technologies have you been seeing that can aid that? What's worked well? Is it too early? Is it, what? Because obviously, it can be expensive. It can be really low touch. It can be really like intrusive, like scanning badges all the time and stuff like that. What are the things that clients are talking about? They're making the moves.
And I think it goes back to purpose. So what's your purpose with the data?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, oh, data, cringe word. But there's a use for it. So are you using it for future marketing? Are you using it for brand awareness? What are you using that data for? And then are we playing by the rules for data collection, for how we're using it, for how people can opt in or opt out? So there's lots of different ways to think about that data.
And it can change where you are as well.
And it can also change in what country you are. All over. So there's just a lot of additional questions that go to that when you're collecting data.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about how it could be so useful for education and making sure that attendees are learning in a way that works for them. And before events, having people say, oh, I'm a visual learner. Okay, then we need to make sure that all of these have PowerPoints so people that are visual can take that back with them.
Also, can it give the delegates like a frictionless experience as well? So when attendees are going to the event, I, as a man, always find it intrusive when I'm being scanned in and out of venues. I'm like, I've already been scanned like 20 times today. Like, am I 20 people now? Yes, I am, because they're trying to, the organizers sometimes are trying to increase their numbers of people that have entered. And I'm like, well, you scanned me all these times, it's crazy. Well, actually, I'm just one person. I'm just one person. You also have all the staff then that you have to scan people in. Is that appropriate for your event? Or actually, are you trying to be, we do a number of high-level B2B events where we do like Bluetooth tracking. So the delegates come in and that's it. No one needs to ask them anything, no one needs to scan them. We know where they've been, we've had the correct approvals. It's a B2B event, not a consumer event. So in the UK and Europe, we have GDPR, which can be complex when it's consumers, but when they're businesses, you already have their information. It's not personally identifiable information, and they've come to the event, and they've already agreed that they might be photographed, or they might be interviewed, or they might be scanned, or whatever. So it's making sure you've got those things in your policies and your agreements with your attendees that are the most important things there. But then what does it do for you? So if it's educational, actually, I not only know they were scanned into that educational session that gives them points, it's I know they stayed for 37 minutes. So they get the points. Not they scanned in and went, now I can leave. Now I'm done. And they run away. And they still get the points, so it's kind of cheating the system. So they can't do that with that sort of situation. So I think it's the why, isn't it? It's what might it do? Cool. Then what do you want to talk about? Oh, okay, so this is another interesting one. So I think sponsorships have become potentially harder post-pandemic. I know a lot of our clients are like, we're back, everyone's great, they want to spend more money than when we were just virtual, but we're struggling to get the same people back, or we need the tech to help us do that. What can we do? What visuals can we give them? How can we do it? What creative things have you guys seen from a tech perspective that people have done or are doing in the future? Because obviously we're planning now, right, for the next 3, 6, 12 months with some of our customers. What sort of things have you seen?
Oh, man, I mean, the consistent branding, throughout the whole experience of your event, not just when you're on site, but all the before, the during, and the after, because that really is what drives people to remember things. So kind of keeping that consistency with all the tech and all the media and all the platforms, I think that's one thing.
I think it's knowing your audience or your clientele and understanding, hey, my audience is boomers, right? They're a little older. They may not be as active with technologies. They may not potentially understand some of those things. You even may have, kids coming out of high school who are now attending things in the career market. And so their level of usage, their level of access to those technologies, their experience as a whole is different. You may have the whole gamut, right? So you may have to think through, is this technology, is this usage for the whole event going to be able to withstand all those different, now I think we have like 4 generations in the workforce, so lots of different experience backgrounds to think through on that experience level, because we want to think through it as a whole, and we want to think through it from 30,000 feet down as to what you're going to go through from arriving to the airport with digital signage. Is there QR codes? Can you learn more about the destination when you get there? Can you help them without having a physical presence? And where do you need physical presences? Where do you need actual human touches? Where people, how we all sit on those calls and we're like, why can't I just talk to a human? Where you're like, okay, now I need a physical communication point, a human touch. So being intentional about those and curating those experiences too from that level and picking those technologies that match.
And with these, obviously we talked earlier about the return to in-person. I think it's booming more than it was 12 months ago when people were still a little bit nervous. I think it's becoming a bit more norm again now. But where are you finding in event tech that there's still those virtual opportunities? Because there's a lot of talk about, the virtual only event tech players are doomed. I don't believe that for a second. I mean, we have a platform, we do hybrid and all that kind of stuff. We're doing substantially more in person now than we are doing anything else. But where do you think do you think it has a place? Do you think it's still has it got a future?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's here to stay. It's just going to change. I mean, I can even see a world where people maybe see the keynote speaker before and then go to attend the event and maybe have a quiz there or something to make sure that they learned or they took that education in.
I think it allows a bigger global reach, and it always will. I think that was the beauty of COVID for all of us. When we look on the bright side, right, there was a lot of bad.
A lot of stress.
But a lot of stress, but for our understanding, that's what we learned, is that we can reach people across the world and connect with people across the world. You don't physically have to fly or send people, while we've seen now within the world really reopening that people do really want this human face-to-face connection, to be able to have random conversations at cocktail mixers and things like that. But there's also the ability now to bring in people from all over the world to be able to experience and learn and educate within your conferences. So I think that's where we'll see kind of that expertise still continue with learning how to manage both virtual, hybrid, and live, because it does bring you an additional audience source as well.
Brilliant. I think we have time for a couple of questions. If anyone's got any questions, raise your hands and there will be a microphone somewhere. Oh, we've got one there. Oh, just in the middle.
Gabby's getting a workout.
That's about as far as I can see, so I'll have to. I should have brought my sunglasses out.
It's like right here.
I would like to ask any of the three of you to respond to a conclusion that I've reached about hybrid events. After 2020, when we essentially invented a whole separate audience, it was obvious that we needed to hold hybrid conferences, which we did the last 2 years. At the risk of immodesty, I think we killed it. We had very high levels of engagement, and we even got the two audiences to interact with one another and many times. But oh my goodness, for an event of 200 or less like ours is, it scales so poorly. It was exorbitant, and I reached the conclusion that it is now completely implausible for us. And it is going to be easier, cheaper, and less stressful for us to hold two separate events, which we're going to do this year. This fall, we're going to hold the in-person, and 3 weeks later, do it all over again in virtual. And for small events like mine, I really no longer see any alternative to that.
Yeah, so I think from an event tech supplier point of view, I think I hear that a lot, and I think it may be down to the experience your attendees had, as well as the stress it caused your team. I think we're talking to a lot of event organizers that are working now with smaller teams internally. So I think maybe it's the partners you had, maybe they like we become an extension of our customers' teams. So we try to become like your trusted advisors, your partners, so that you don't want to let us go. But most of those customers that we met during that time when we did virtual only and then eased back in, they're now all pretty much, I'd say 90% back in person is our experience. We deal B2B, association, medical conferences, that kind of stuff. So anything from a 50-person offsite to 5,000 to 6,000 people, that's kind of our area. And yeah, I think you're right, that some of the big events, I think really struggled, but to the points earlier, I think where it does still have a place is where people can't physically travel. I think maybe the sustainability conversation comes in somewhere in that hybrid thing where, I've flown here from the UK, right? So there's two of us that have come. We have people in the States as well, but it was more appropriate that I was here. I went to see people. We meet on Zoom, great, but actually you form those bonds when you're in the trenches together. Yeah. And I think when you get back to in person, for me, that excites me and I really enjoy that. So I have a bit of a conflict with the sustainability of then getting on a plane and flying 5,000 miles or whatever it is to get here. But yeah, any thoughts on the hybrid?
Yeah, I think a hybrid is so great in certain uses, but really there is something lost lost there. And so separating those events and really designating the time to each of them to make them the best that they can, to get that connection through that virtual as well, and not just for those in-person attendees. I think that was really smart for you to split it and designate the time for them so they each, again, can have that great, wonderful guest experience.
Lauren?
Yeah, there's really no replacement, I feel like, for, hey, we'll send you a cocktail kit at home, but like 30 of us are going to go and
we're going to have the professional doing it.
And a cocktail, like, and hang out. Where I don't think that social experience can be reinvented in a hybrid space like you saw. So being able to separate them so people don't have FOMO, right? In other words, we all have FOMO when we're sitting in our computer chairs with our pajamas on, with our virtual background, being like, oh man, I know 30 people are actually having a really great time while I'm here with our kids and our dog and like my husband. Like, so I feel like there's a different space that you take your brain when you do get out of your potential office space or your home space. So I think it is really smart when doing 2 events. And I think also the misconception is that we had was, hey, virtual is real easy. Like virtual is easy and like cheap, and we can just do that instead of meeting in person. Where it actually is really, it can be not as cost effective, I think, as we've seen, but it can still be a great solution. So I think it's like you knowing your audience and what they're okay with and what you want to provide to them, because it is sometimes hard with what you miss out on and what your audience is okay with.
Yeah. Have we got any other questions? I think we might have time for one last one, if there is any more. I think we're good. Right. Thank you very much, Christina and Lauren. Thank you for that. Thank you for watching us, and we hope to see you around the next couple of days. Have a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you.